out to some rock stuff, that's a little bit different than structured practice time, which is what I'm looking for, right?
I was learning my songs. 2 songs I'm working on.
Okay, so most of your practice time was just jamming on other things.
And learning.
Did you do any styles?
Did he? I don't know.
Styles. Did you do styles? Like the 5 big styles that we talked about last week?
I don't remember.
So that's probably no. Okay, so
Mambo,
okay.
rock, swing, blues with rock.
Well, rock and blues are tied together.
Yeah.
So
So
2 more.
Mambo, rock, swing,
2 more.
samba, bossa.
Yeah, that's most of what you're going to be expected in the average jazz band to play. So let's do a quick run of as many of them as we can, okay? Because I've been giving them to you 1 week at a time, but you're not really doing them at home. So I need you to see how much they're struggling by comparison to other things, right? So let's go with the easiest one first. Play a rock pattern. And with transitions, fills, whatever, right? We're playing the form, right? Fill you did at the end, was that clean? No. So we need to try to prioritize cleaning stuff up, right? So that was your easiest one. That should be the one that's the closest to being right on the money, right? So we almost don't have any excuse for that one to be sloppy. So tell you what, you can play, it doesn't have to be with no variations. You can have variations like what you did, but I want you to only play clean. Play me something that is clean and good, precise, okay? No sloppiness. Go again. We probably need to practice those quads, right? Yeah. So I agree. I love that fill. That was one of my first metal fills, and then I just was obsessed with getting that as quick as possible.
I can't really
What do you mean? So you're saying you can't really what?
I'm trying to transition.
Well, that's part of the value of the hi-hat, right? Because you don't actually have to step your left foot from the bass straight over to the hat. You can taka-duga, crash. Now you're back on the hat.
Oh.
See, even that. You hear? So, this is something that's really important, right? So, let me take a second to say this is a like
Life skill?
Well, not just a life skill, right? But you're at a point where we can talk about this stuff. You can do a lot of cool things, right? You think, just the average kid playing drums your age is not doing as many cool things, right?
Like this?
Well, sure. But I'm talking about playing, right? We're talking about Face Down, all these other songs that you're working on, right? You got all these really cool patterns and all these really cool things that you're able to do, okay? But what's happening is because you can do so many things, we're getting sloppy. We're getting sloppy on our grooves. We're getting sloppy of what kind of fills we're willing to tolerate. And so the problem is that when you have all of these choices and you can pull anything out of the air and you just start doing whatever you want, you're going to get a level of sloppiness. When was the last time that you sat down? We've done this in here before. When was the last time you did this?
Like last year.
So, what are things that you noticed about that?
That's clean.
Well, it was clean.
Same
In
time.
what way?
It was not sloppy.
Well, okay, but what does that mean? So define that to me. What did you notice about what I was playing?
It was very crisp,
Okay.
and it was not. It wasn't just a. You were. You were paying attention to what you were doing, not just a.
Yeah. So let's think of it this way, okay? When was the last time that you thought about how you walk? Have you ever thought about how you walk?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Pretty recently.
Pretty recently? But not very often, right? It doesn't come up a lot? Where you think, well, how big of steps do I take? Or do my feet angle straight forward, or do they angle out a little bit? Like, you know, do I kind of hit down on the ball of my foot, or do I go heel first? All of those kinds of things. Do you spend a lot of time thinking about exactly what it looks like when you walk?
Couple of days sometimes, but not really.
Sure, not really, right? That's reasonable. Most people don't, right? Same thing for running or other things that we may be eating, right? Things that you do all the time. You probably don't really think much about how you do it. Now, let's compare that to a model that has a runway. Do you think someone who is walking professionally with all of these cameras and all this stuff in order to try to show off these fashion trends, do you think that person knows exactly how they are taking each and every step?
No.
Well, they probably are because their career depends on it, right?
No, I think.
If they walk kind of sloppy or kind of goofy, they don't really think about it at all, then their product isn't getting advertised as good as the other products. And the people who hired them are going to hire somebody else who's more conscious of that.
They're not like thinking of every step. They're just thinking of mostly posture.
Well,
Like, if I did that, I'd be standing up straight. I wouldn't really notice how my feet would be facing outward.
maybe, but what I will say is that in that moment, they're paying attention to every little thing that is going on in the way that they present themselves, okay? So, with that in mind, because that groove is easy to you, you could play that groove and have a whole conversation with me, couldn't you? You wouldn't trip on that, right? It'd be totally fine. But because of that, what starts to happen is we start to take certain things for granted, right? So, what things go into making that groove that I just played right there? What made that crisp, clean,
You were paying
precise?
attention to every little thing.
Yeah, but to what?
To every little thing.
Yes, but what does that mean, right?
Paying attention to what you're doing here, what you're doing here, what you're doing there.
Okay, what was I doing? Do you see what I'm getting at? I'm deliberately not letting you get out of it. I'm trying to get into specifics. So what about the way that I played the hi-hat made it sound clean?
You weren't down here. You were here.
Well, you can be clean both on the shank and on the
And
tip,
you had your
right?
foot pressed firmly down.
Mhm,
and
okay.
you were, instead of not really paying attention and getting a...
Yeah. So one of the things we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about consistency,
That.
right?
That right
So
there,
if
that.
I'm going to play... There are two different sounds, correct? But they are the same. Each of these is the same, and each of these is the same, which creates consistency. What about how my hi-hat lines up with my bass drum? What if they're flamming a little bit? Is that going to sound clean, or is that going to sound messy? Right? What about how I played the snare? How did I play the snare?
My hair just got caught in that.
Oh, I got
but-
pinched?
Yeah.
Oh.
He asked you a question though, bud.
I just, you were lining them up exactly just.
Yep, so lining things up correctly. Were my snares all the same?
I was not paying that much attention, but yes.
Exactly, yeah. So that's part of this exercise, right? I played the rim shot in the same spot every time. And you can go back and you can listen to the recording. It's a consistent sound over and over and over again, okay? So that's the kind of stuff that if you're just goofing around and having fun, it doesn't matter so much. If you're doing live, it doesn't matter as much. It's still important, but it's not as big. In a studio, it's everything.
Yes.
If you're recording and every one of your snares is different, or you get one of these, oops,
Dad
start it over, pull it back.
Dad would just like cover over it with a.
Sure, and you're lucky that you have a dad with a recording studio.
Exactly.
I also have one of that, but that's not common across the board. That's madness. I don't ever want to see that. So what needs to start happening here is that if you go for the fill because you like it, it's cool. Maybe that one you were just doing. Okay? If you like that fill, you need to run it slow and clean so that it is consistent and smooth every time and the voices come out just right. What if I did this, for example? I don't have access to both pedals, but what if I went... What did I do there? Do you tell the difference? Yeah.
Louder or softer?
Yeah. So you might have a habit of playing, like really slamming your snare drum and then not being loud enough on your toms. Yeah. So you want that. You want precision. You want accuracy. Like you want it to sound good. You can play a fancy fill in a way that doesn't sound good and then it doesn't do you any good.
That's
right? So, as an order of operations,
Handles?
which of these, if you wanted all of the sound to be equalized, which one do you have to hit the hardest? Which one has to hit the hardest? You're not quite. Yeah.
Not really, because.
So for the most part.
Hitting it softer than this, and I'm getting an equal sound.
So
Most.
the lower frequency is going to dig into the floors and into the walls and things. It's going to be kind of more of a feeling. If you want to hear it well, you have to dig in a little bit deeper,
Like
right?
this.
So if you want, whereas if you were to compare the tom to the snare drum, you can see that there's a big difference. If I play at the same volume, this is clearly louder, right? There's no contest for that. I'm not hitting this one harder. This one just is louder. So if I want to equalize, now I'm deliberately digging into that one a little bit harder in order to bring that sound out. So actually, when you're running around like that, da 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 do 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 do, light, little heavier, little heavier, little heavier, right? You got to dig in a little bit harder. Yeah, and that's what's gonna. Because otherwise, if everything is just about how loud you can crack the snare, then these won't really ring out. You won't really get a good voice to it. Okay? So here's what I want you to try, and I'm hoping that this actually turns into somewhat of a fun thing for you. I'm not going to put any limits on what you play. Sounds fun, right? You can play metal, you can play rock, you can play punk. I don't care. Play whatever you want, but I'm going to insist that everything that you do, I want you to concentrate on making it as clean as possible.
Yep.
Okay? Okay? All right. So I'll give you, let's say, I'm even going to give you a good amount of time. Let's say 5 minutes. That's a good amount of time, right? That's a good chunk of time, right? Most of our exercises we do for 2 minutes. This, you get 5 minutes. Play anything you want, but I want everything to be clean. If something comes out that is not clean, you go for a fill and it is sloppy, I want you to break and I want you to slow down that fill and do it again until it's clean. I want you to polish whatever you decide to play. Okay? You want to do some 5-stroke rolls? Get them. Get your 5-stroke rolls. You want to do metal fills? You want to do stuff like that? Great. You want to do some crash cymbal stuff? Cool. All of that is good. But focus on precision. This needs to line up with this, needs to line up with that. Your grooves need to be clean. What I want is I want very little of this like You know, when that kind of stuff, especially I tend to notice when it gets sloppy is when I see sweeping. Because I'll see you sweep like that. That's where your stuff is. You're using a drag as like, well, it's kind of cool because that's what I do, right? I do the same thing. But there's a big difference between that. It's a double. I'm not, you know? It's I can tell you exactly how many bounces I'm getting every single time. It's clean. Yeah? So you can do those drags like me, but clean. I want you to focus on making things clean and less about showing off and showing off all the cool things that you know how to do, which is great. That's not a bad thing. Let's clean them up.
Yes. Yeah? Can I do this?
No, because that has nothing to do with whether you're playing clean or not. So that's going to be something else that you can work on your own time. I think that kind of stuff is great if you're doing live performance a lot. But right now, I want you to think more about like this is your warm up for a studio session. If you're in a studio session, you're not doing stuff like this. The only time I've ever done stuff like that in a studio session is when I'm goofing off with your dad and I get done with a run and I'm like, oh, pop it, because I know he's recording me, right? So I'll do that as a showboating thing because he is recording me. But if he wasn't and it was just about the precision, I need to get this done as quickly as possible. I'm not taking time to showboat. I'm not taking time to be animated and to smile and to have it on my face. I am focused on being clean and everything coming out exactly the way that I want it to. Everything lining up, having the right amount of pop out of my snare drum, the right amount of dig in my bass drum. I want either the tip or the shank. I want cymbals to be ringing exactly where I want them to. I want to hit the right spot on the bell so that I get a good, crisp bell sound and I don't clip this guy, right? Which happens from time to time.
That will.
Focus on being clean, okay? 5 minutes to jam whatever you want. But
it's gotta be clean.
It has to be clean. And if I'm even going to kind of step. Well, actually, I've got headphones, so we'll put headphones on so you don't blow my ears out. Okay, you can play whatever you want. But if you go into a fill and it is sloppy and you don't stop it, I'm gonna tap you and nope, do that again. That's gotta clean up. Okay, I'm not gonna let it slide. Okie doke. All right. So the temptation is, this is a fun thing that I like to do, so I'm just going to have fun and go crazy. Okay, that's good. I want you to have fun with this, but more than anything else, I don't want you to lose focus. Be intentional. Direct, okay? Tuck in my pocket, yeah. Okay. Lean. Focus. There you go, 5 minutes. Cool idea. Slow it down. Clean it up. Digga 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 dat do. Do do. Digga digga dat do. Whatever the pattern it is. Hit 'em
That
up.
was clean.
Nope. Okay, so first of all, that's kind of fun, right? Yeah, you get to jam out to whatever you want. The cool thing too is that you might come up with a pattern. I particularly liked that pattern that you were, it wasn't this most recent one that you were working on, but it was the one that you slowed down and you did over and over and over again.
Oh,
That
that
was over
one.
here on the hat. I liked that. I thought that's really cool, but it needs to get cleaned up. And so you stuck to one pattern with no changes, you slowed it down, and you ran it again and again and again until it became a little bit more comfortable, became a little more clean, and then you moved on. That's the kind of stuff that's going to create clean patterns that you really like. You know, there's one that I use all that time, that right? You've heard me play that before, right? I pulled that from a song that I really enjoy. But I spent a lot of time with a metronome. That's another thing I didn't make you do, but at home you need to be doing this with a metronome.
I do have my metronome.
Okay. Gotta have the metronome with it. Okay? Because that's what's gonna tell you when you start playing stuff that's out, you start doing these crash cymbal parts that are, you know,
Not on time.
yeah, hemiolas and whatever, where you're going outside of the bar.
Hemio.
It's a repeating pattern that goes outside of the bar phrase. But you have that kind of a thing going on, right? You got a metronome that's going to help keep you right on target, because then you hear your beep and you know that's your beat one. Yeah? If you were doing a bunch of Herta stuff, for example. You got to be able to keep track of where your beats are, right? Because the Herta pattern won't land you right on beat one for 3 measures. It'll take 3 measures before you come back around to beat one. Yeah? So because it's an odd pattern, so because they're in groupings of 3 technically, that's what makes it take 3 measures to come back around. Okay? So with that in mind, if you have a metronome on, you can be sure of where you are at any given moment, okay? But some of the stuff that you did in there, I was particularly impressed with because you were concentrated on being clean. Is it the fanciest, fastest stuff I've heard you play? No.
That is
But it
nowhere
was-
near the fastest.
But it was clean in a lot of places, and that's what made it sound nice. I think probably one of the things that you should do actually is you should go back and you should watch that 5 minutes in the video that your dad's putting together right now. Go back and watch that. See what your choices were. See where I stopped you, and then go back at any of the ideas. Because one of the other things is listening through. You might hear something that from a third person perspective, you go, actually, that sounds really cool as a listener. If you get that feeling, go into the studio right away, pick up that groove, and grind it until it's super comfortable. And that can become one of your pocket grooves that you have. Yeah? And you can really enjoy it. You can have fun with it. So I'm allowing you the space to create, but I'm saying that it has to be good. We're not taking paint and just spattering it on the canvas, right? We need to be clean. Okay? That's one of the things that is really kind of the last frontier here, and that's what's going to be the difference between you being like a kid that plays drums and like a drummer, you know?
Yeah.
So you show up to a situation, they're going to see that you're young, and then if you play and you do a bunch of fancy stuff that's kind of sloppy, they're going to go, yeah, you know, like he plays some cool stuff, but you know, he's a kid that plays drums. But you come in and you play what is required of you. You are on time. What you play is clean. You lead the band, right? Because we've talked about that.
Add in something.
Yeah. You are driving the band. You're letting everyone know we're coming up on the chorus. We're coming out of the chorus. Here's the bridge. You're building energy, you're dropping energy. You are doing what is expected of you, and you're doing it well, and you're doing it clean. People are going to be over the moon impressed. Way more than a fill that's going back and forth between 5s and 4s. They don't care about that stuff if it's not clean. It only matters if it's clean. So clean is top priority.
I would like to hear a 5 and a 4.
I taught you one. Remember that one?
What is it?
Da 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 do do. So 1, no, right hand. And then. How does 3-5-4 work? Explain that to me. What is 3-5-4?
3-5-4 is a pattern that starts off with 1 on your right hand, 2 on your left hand, then 1 on your right hand, 1 on your left hand, then another 1 on your right and 2 on your left,
Okay.
and then it's 2 on your right hand, 2 on your left hand.
Okay.
Then,
Why are those numbers specific?
because it's
What does it add up to?
because they add up to 12.
Meaning they are.
They're a multiple of 4, which would be 3 measures. One
Almost. Think the other way around.
would be a third of a measure. Wait,
You have 12 notes. How many beats do you have in a measure?
4. You
So
have
12 divided by 4.
3 measures.
3
Beats. 3
notes per beat. Meaning
notes.
they are quarters, eighths, triplets, sixteenths.
3 notes, 3 beats, triplets.
The triplets. Okay?
Break it down into
So,
threes.
if I have you play 5-4, 5-4, if we use the same concept, what should you play afterwards? How many beats do you have left over?
2 beats, so you just play a.
So two measures. So 2 measures total are going to be how many triplets? How many counts?
2 measures total.
There's 12 triplets in a measure, right? So 2 measures are going to be
24.
24, right?
So if you have 18,
Mm-hmm.
then you get,
What do you have left?
Wait, yeah.
24 minus 18.
You got 6.
You have 6 left.
So 6 notes, you can just play 2 triplets.
2 sets of triplets. So it's, we're taking 3-5-4, and instead we're taking the 3s and putting them at the end. 5-4, 5-4, 3-3. It's still 3-5-4. We've just combined 2 measures and taken the 3s to the end. Boom. Right? So triplet, triplet. So I would do 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. Even just hand over hand is fine. Yeah. So, how do we make sure that you're landing that correctly and then you're coming back into a groove afterwards that's the same tempo?
Do 2 metronomes.
Yep. Yes, sir. So, when I first learned that groove, when Al taught it to me, I spent a ton of time doing it with a metronome. I did it slow, I did it fast, and then I made sure that I went in and out of a groove. So, because it's a 2-measure fill, it's a 2-bar fill, I would then do 2 bars of pattern. Right? If you start with a shuffle or you start with a jazz, it's going to feel a little easier at first because the fill is all triplets, right? But then you can gradually move into sort of a rock pattern and then you are just switching the triplets, okay? But the priority is every time you're doing something that you're not sure that you're going to totally land it or whatever else, metronome. Yeah?
It helps.
Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of like a flashlight when you're in the dark.
Sure.
It's a drummer's best friend and worst enemy all at the same time.
Yeah. Well, I think it's your worst enemy at first, and then you grow to like it.
Understand it.
Yeah. I remember there were a couple times where we were working on some reading stuff, and you're like, it was in the Houghton book. Where you were like, can you please turn the metronome on so that I know where I am? It's like that's the moment. That's the turning point where it's like it then becomes a helpful ally. I'm not afraid of the metronome at all anymore because I've spent so much time with the metronome. I like having it. When we do recording, sometimes that's all I ask for in my headset. Sometimes I want the vocals, depending on how well they hold to the metronome. Sometimes I want, the bass or the guitar or whatever else, as long as it's holding to the metronome, right? But if anything's pulling off of the metronome, then I pull that because I need time first and foremost. Okay? So, that's what I want you to think about this week. Here's the catch. There's always a catch, right?
Yeah, and just gotta do it neatly.
I need to just make sure this isn't the district office real fast.
Yeah, go to that.
So back to what I was saying. The catch here, right? I want you to be able to do this and have fun with whatever you want.
Yes.
Couple things. First of all, watch your drags.
Correct. Don't.
Yep. Don't sweep. Even then, a lot of times I'm watching you just kind of bury into the drums. Oftentimes it's a shortcut. You need a good, clean double to get. Right? So that's something that you can start practicing. Okay. For 2, there's another major aspect of music that you didn't utilize during your entire 5 minutes. Do you know what it was?
Listening. You listening?
No, I didn't have anything for you to listen to.
Rating.
Well, true. I didn't put anything in front of you though. So it's not that you didn't do it. I didn't ask it of you. I didn't give you the facilities to do so.
Okay, what was it?
See if you can tell me.
I couldn't get out of the way.
Ready?
There you go.
I know.
I know what it is.
Starts with a D.
Dynamics. There you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I
got
gave you
quieter.
5 minutes, and I don't think I heard anything below a forte. I heard
I was-
forte, double, and triple forte, but I don't think I heard mezzo or any form of piano.
There was a mezzo forte in there. I can tell you that.
Okay. If there was, it was fleeting.
Yes.
It was only there for a moment, right? So, dynamics is also something very important. You cannot be at full volume all the time.
It's not good for you.
Well, it's not only that, it's going to inhibit your ability to work in a band. Because sometimes the singer wants a turn. And if you're at triple forte all the time, the singer cannot do it. Yeah? So, we definitely have to learn to embrace. And there's something, it's going to feel like it's not fun at first, but there's a certain challenge to keeping something right on tempo and keeping it quiet. Especially when you start playing fast. Man, some of the most impressive fills I've ever heard are people that are ripping around the drums. And they're like this loud. Super. Have you tried that before? That is hard.
It is.
It's very hard.
I already know. I haven't tried it.
Some of these fills just, they're super fast and they're like way, way, way quiet. That's someone who is dedicated and who has practiced.
Ellis
You know?
Macario.
It's sure. Yeah, he could do it, you know? You got guys like that just have that precision because it's a lot of work to play quietly. So that's a flex in and of itself. You whip out some monster fill at like a mezzo piano, people are like, what the heck? At least the drummers, especially the drummers, are going to look at that and go, yo.
This is the guitarist.
You will get a lot of good looks from your bandmates and other band
He
members.
will look over and be like, I heard the fill, but I can hear myself.
Yeah, yeah, and they like that. Go figure. The guitar player wants to hear himself as well. The bass player wants to hear himself. Singer wants to hear. You know? So you can rip out something really cool, really fast, but really clean and quiet at the same time. It's like that's
What about
premium.
guitarists doing
That's premium. Oh, sure. It applies to everybody. I mean, you know, for them, they have a volume knob. You don't. So it is a little bit different.
Well, your volume knob is...
Singers also have a special trick that they can do. They just back off the mic.
Or they get closer.
Or they get closer, right? So basically everybody other than you kind of has tricks. You have to actually control how low your sticks are to the heads.
Yeah, that's why when we play
Tough.
quiet, it's harder.
Yes, sir. So the hardest one is to play very fast and very quiet at the same time. That's the hardest one.
I bet it's hard to...
Playing slow and quiet, not so bad. Playing fast and loud is also pretty easy.
Yeah, but what about
But
singing?
playing fast and quiet is
What
very
about
tough.
talking fast and quiet? Like, this is kind of hard. Like,
Well, don't worry about
just,
that for now.
Just like that.
So, okay. So, not only do you have those things that you need to focus on, but the other catch, right, going back to it, you got to be able to do that in the other styles.
yes, I know.
So, you gotta turn on a metronome.
Metal, rock, and punk.
I know. So I want to give you the ones that you like, okay? But I want you to do that same thing for bossa. I want you to do that same thing for samba,
Mambo.
okay? For mambo, I want you to be able to do it.
Wait.
Swing.
But can I do a fat? Can I do like Spain?
Here's the deal, right? Here's the deal. So right now, when you were playing rock, you had all kinds of little embellishments, right? Some were big embellishments, right? The more comfortable that you get with samba and with bossa and with mambo and with swing, the more you can start to add in those little hits of flavor, right? But you have to do it. You have to actually turn on your metronome, turn on a clock that says, okay, for 5 minutes, I'm going to do nothing but play bossa. And then you try to create some stuff that works really nice in a bossa. Listen to some
What
bossas.
if I spend 10 minutes doing that?
Have dad pull up some bossas and play them in the car while you're driving. Listen to them, you know?
That's what we did with the bossa the first time that you got that around. We found
I found a bunch of bossa tunes when I wanted to listen to emo.
Well,
and
you
one of
should be
them
listening to some of this other stuff.
one of them
because-
was an emo tune that turned into bossa. It was actually kind of behind blue eyes. I was like, oh, this is cool.
I know that I like that one.
I found when I was looking for bossa tunes to get you to jam to, I found one that I thought was going to be really funny. It's Clocks, which is a song that you already learned how to do, but
No.
but stylized. as
No,
bossa.
no.
We already watched.
I was like, oh, really?
We already listened to Clocks in
Sure.
music class.
So, whatever the case, though, one of the things that you're getting ideas from is in the music that you listen to, right? So if you listen to some bossas, you might find that there's a fill, you know, some of the ones that I've shown you, for example.
Like,
You know, this one.
rock.
Right? That kind of thing. That's a fill that comes up a lot.
I actually like that.
Yeah. But
It's catchy.
but you got to hear it, right? So that's what I mean. So when you're listening to bossas, you're listening to sambas, you're listening to mambos, you're listening to all these things, they're gonna play things that you're gonna go, oh, that was cool actually. Boom, hit it. You know where you could really, the easiest place to start, this is the compromise for all of you, right? All of you involved, Dad will enjoy this too, right? Just start playing Santana songs.
I'm good with that.
There's a first baseman named Santana though. It's a good thing. That, like,
You start
Santana
playing
songs.
you just start listening to Santana songs. It's gonna be rock, so you're already comfortable. Oh, this is rock. I understand it.
listening
It's
to
all good.
Smooth.
But it's going to have Latin flavor, and you're gonna get used to the Latin flavor. Ooh, I liked that fill. Then try using that fill in a samba. Try using that fill in a mambo. Try using that fill in a bossa, right? Use stuff that you're hearing from Santana in a non-rock setting to then remove the rock aspect and see if you can still use it, right?
You'd be able to. Well,
Bleed your way into Latin music, then instead of, you know, if it's too much for you to just turn on Tito Puente and enjoy it, and he's like the man, right? You know,
I've
if
never really heard him.
you know Ran Can Can,
Nope.
one of your songs in here.
You've watched. You didn't realize who it was, but yes, you know who it is.
Da 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 da. Ba do da do ba 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 do 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 da do ba do do da do da da boom ba ba da do da da. Does that sound familiar?
Nope.
That was one of the ones we did in here, right?
I do
That's
not
Tito
remember,
Puente.
but yeah.
Whatever the case, okay? He's like the guy. If you listen to some of his stuff and you're like, I can't do this, it might just be that you're not really into the jazz flavor yet, or the Latin flavor.
Yet.
So work your way in with some Santana. At least start listening to Santana.
I will.
And more than just Smooth. Not just Smooth.
Oh
over
no,
and
I've
over
already
again.
got 2 songs we're listening to on the way home.
What is Smooth?
Okay. Great.
I like
It's
Smooth.
good.
It's a good song.
You're gonna like others of his too. You just have to listen to them first.
You'll like them more. You realize
There's gonna be
Smooth is
other ones
just
that you're also
commercial.
gonna like. That's just the big radio hit, right?
It could lead me to like him, but it could also lead me to not like him.
Oh, you'll like it.
Yeah, I think you will. Okay, but you have to give this stuff a listen because that's where you're gonna get your ideas. Okay. All right. So this week, since I can't seem to get you to just commit to a style and work on the style, fine. But we're gonna do this. Okay, we're gonna start cleaning up your stuff. You gotta clean up your rock, clean up your punk, clean up your metal, and then after you've had your fun with the styles that you like, pick one that you don't like and go another 5 minutes with one of the styles that you don't like as much.
I'm just gonna do jazz because I
Okay.
don't like jazz
I'm
as
even-
much.
I'm going out on a limb here, and I'm letting you eat your dessert first.
Deal.
You
Don't
got-
make me regret it.
You've got 2 weeks to play it.
Okay?
2.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you won't be back here next week, right?
Correct. You're going to be down in Orange County.
So that means 2 days.
We have a drum set at Grandma Kate's.
Actually,
Woo!
yeah, I actually forgot about that. That's good.
Yep.
It's not like the one we have at home though. It's